Hello, this is Integrity Over Scale podcast. I am your host, Leili and Max. It's so good to have you as always on the
Good
chat.
morning. Good morning.
Yeah. So how was your week? I know we were talking about it a little bit before we started recording. And
Before we just hopped on,
yeah.
yeah. It's been good. It's been busy. It's been good. And I I don't know. I like doing these. I love working on podcasts like this that I don't have tons of experience on because I get to learn new stuff. And I don't know if that's helping me with all the stuff I'm trying to get done over here, but it certainly is engaging, stimulating, and interesting. So I'm doing good. How about you? You said you were a little under the weather. Are you feeling
I
any
know
better?
I was. It started on Sunday because I think I really pushed myself last week. And then luckily I felt okay. Yesterday I had a really great opportunity with a nonprofit called Moonshots, where I pitched in vivo leadership
Mm,
strategies and talked about it and made some it was kind of like Shark Tank, but the way they said it, it's like kind of
yeah, that's what you had
yeah.
mentioned.
They said they're not sharks, they're dolphins. So that was a really good experience.
Dolphin
Yeah.
tank.
Yeah, so that
Cool.
was fun.
Well, what did they say? Like, how
It
did the
went
pitch go?
really well. I really felt really comfortable. And what I'm doing in New Vivo Leadership Strategies, a few of the judges came back and shared how they were so happy that I was doing this work. And especially in today's world, one specific judge said, if a CEO ever tells you they know what's going to happen in 5 years, they're lying. So having someone like you be able to help them and coach them and show them how to behave is phenomenal. So it was awesome, Max. I
Yeah,
really was happy to hear how
good.
in vivo was taken by other people in the industry.
That's great. That's great.
Thank you so
Congratulations.
much.
So they were giving you external validation. I thought that was a
Well, let's
dangerous
talk
thing.
about that.
That's what we're talking about today.
Let's
Yeah,
talk
let's
about
talk
that
about it.
because there's a difference between feedback and external validation, which we're going to talk about. And
Mm,
since you kindly really transition us into this topic, I really want to start with a question that I never even was aware of myself until I did some soul searching. And it was when you walk in a room, in a meeting, in a presentation, one on one with a manager, whose opinion are you leading from? And more than likely, your answer is going to be whatever my manager wants. Is how I'm going to show up. Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
Is that true for you too, Max?
Exactly. You mean if like back when I was working corporate, I would say whatever my manager
Yeah.
wants? No, because I mean, well, yes and no. I mean, I guess I've always been kind of skilled at being like a chameleon
Hmm.
when I needed to be. And some like it's not very fun. Like there's this battle between authenticity and falling in line, in corporate. And some people value authenticity, some people value falling in line. I think that at the end of the day, being able to be yourself and give your opinions is regardless of if you're talking to the president or if you're talking to the janitor, you should be able to respectfully share differences of opinion without nastiness and anger and stuff like that. But I would say whatever my manager wanted, if I knew that I needed to say that at the time, and if I knew that it was safe, then I wouldn't say that. But that's because it wasn't always safe. But I think I shared this with you. I figured out how to do it with the
Mm.
big bosses, where if you want your idea to go through, you just have to make them believe it was their
So
idea,
you're managing the
unfortunately.
manager, in other words, right? Yeah. I don't, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is,
Yeah. Yeah. Like I know how you're going to respond. So if I say, "Hey, last week, remember when you brought this up?" And oh yeah, that is a good idea. Yeah, let's do that. Oh, okay. Cool.
well,
Even though I was the one that brought it up.
it's
So
it's
that's what I used to
really
do.
it's really a tactic that a lot of us use when we don't have really good quality managers, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep. I mean, a quality manager, I think, is going to say, what do you
yeah.
think about this? How do you feel
Yeah.
about it? What do you think we could do differently? Well, how do you see things here? Which is why I think that's super, super
Yeah.
important, you
And
know?
even then, it's not like your manager is seeking validation. They're seeking feedback, right? So that's, I think, the biggest difference that you can notice right away is when someone seeking external validation, it's more of like the emotion and feelings that they may not feel in that moment. It's more, my
Mhm.
insecurities that I'm bringing to you. And I think, going back to that question that I asked myself, because it's more than likely a lot of us, we say what we think is going to give us that external validation. And somewhere along the way, that means that our compass gradually shifted from our center and we stop leading from our own judgment and we start to just basically start thinking about whatever anyone is saying in the room is right and whatever we say may be false. I think that's maybe the best way to put it.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great way to put it, and I think a lot of times people aren't thinking. I do this all the time. In corporate environments, and this is one of the most toxic things. I am too focused on what I'm gonna say
Mm.
next to actually listen to what the person is right in front of me
Yeah.
is saying. So, you get so anxious and worked up, and then you go into these meetings and people are talking, they're saying things that are important, and I'm just not listening because I'm like, what do I say first? What if I look dumb? What if okay, if this person says that's stupid, then here's what I'm gonna say. And if this person, you know what I mean? You're like trying to figure out, you're trying to effectively cope with a mental phantom of the future that does not exist yet, which is impossible, by the way. You can't cope with problems that do not exist. But as humans, we like to make those all the time. And for good reason, right? Like they protect us. There's probably a reason you're not speaking up in meetings, right?
Yeah.
Because you got tr- taught as a kid, be seen, not heard, respect authority, do whatever your boss tells you, stuff like that. Listen to an adult, listen to the authority figures, and I'm not saying don't do that, but it's healthy to question
It
things,
is
right?
completely healthy to question things. And I think some of us, and maybe a lot of more women, would resonate with this topic than men. And I never want to stereotype or judge. It's just, I know as a woman growing up, I felt like I was told what to believe in, what to do. If someone else wanted to do it a different way, then I needed to adjust to them. And so that really followed me into the leadership positions. And I think more women I coach, the more I see that where a woman who's a leader starts getting wrapped up in what the ideas and patterns are with other people. And usually I have to get them out of that thought. And I always ask them, well, what are your thoughts
Mhm.
about it? And then I get this like
Yeah.
long pause, like, oh my God, no one's ever asked me that
Hmm.
question. Um, so that's what we're going to
Yep.
discuss today. What is it? Why is it developing in high capable leaders? What are the costing companies? And how do we rebuild the internal authority to lead without becoming the dependent in the room, if you will?
Got it. Let's
So,
go.
external validation is not a confidence issue. I want to say that first and foremost. It has to do with our mindset. And the solution is not
Mm.
to simply just believe in yourself more. I hated it. So when I was in coaching school, if you will, I'll call it coaching school. One of the things that I heard so much when we were practicing coaching is like, well, just do you believe in yourself? Do you believe in yourself? And the framing of just be more confident is so incomplete. It is such a surface level question that, in my experience, in
Yeah.
organizations that we focus on in enable leadership, high stake organization, it's such a misleading question because it replaces the responsibility of the organization and it goes to the individual and says, hey, you're the one who's responsible for this in the first place. And that's just not
Hmm.
true. And here's
Right.
just a quick thing about research too, just to back myself up. But here's what research on workplace insecurity shows a lot to us. So, environments with unclear expectations, with social comparisons, inconsistent recognitions, they are going to naturally, and I'll say that part again, naturally increase self doubt and make people more likely to seek external validation because you are now teaching. And for whoever is, they're like, I'm too strong for this. This happens unconsciously at certain levels. So that external validation happens in that culture, in that environment, so much stronger than what you may be
Yeah.
able to detect within yourself.
So you're saying that when there's inconsistent feedback or ambiguous workplaces that don't have like regular, you know, like just relationship building and like regular communication and things like that, you're saying that those are the people that are starting to crave the external validation that aren't getting it. And so are they like sabotaging things unawarely by doing that, or just like,
Yeah.
because like I've had like situations with people that have said, no, no, like I can do that. They can do that. I'm sure I can. And then you're like, all right, because they want to get it done. They want to please. They maybe feel like they haven't put a lot of, they haven't been recognized,
Mhm.
right? And then they say they can do something and then it doesn't get done because maybe they're overwhelmed or then maybe they're scared. And then that creates more of a communication issue because then you don't want to go and say, look, I bit off more than it's like that. So is that what you mean by like the external validation is actually costing you because these people are making it more imbalanced, or
Oh,
what
for
do you
sure.
mean?
So you could have a manager to your point where they could be completely inconsistent. Or you have a manager who's, let's say, the opposite side. They're clear, they're genuinely supportive, but people who are in
Yeah.
the ambiguous, very critical, very whatever environment, over time, what happens is you don't know what you're going to get. This uncertainty sits with you. Like I had a client of mine. Every morning, this person would wake up and basically like would throw up every single day because this person didn't know what they were going to get that day from the CEO, and they worked with the CEO on a daily basis. So over time, what was happening, that inconsistency, it created this question within themselves, which was, am I doing this right? Do I even know what to do? And mind you, this person had like 20 years of leadership under their belt. And then this CEO had walked into her world and rocked it so much that the doubt really was the only thing she woke up to. She just didn't know if she was even capable of doing the job, which is terrible to think about. Yeah.
Yeah. So, uh, I got just a little story for you that you'll love. You'll love this. So, a few years ago, I went to a job interview. It was this like for an insurance place or something. It was a marketing position, right? And I got in there and I go in this boardroom and these three people are in there. They're interviewing me. And then the CEO comes in. And this guy is, he's dressed really nicely. Like he looks legitimately like if you looked up insurance CEO in
Mhm.
the dictionary, like this dude's picture would be there. He comes in and he's asking me these questions really pretentiously. He's well, why would we like, do you even know who we serve here? Okay, well, who's the client then? And he was asking me like all of these questions as if I had like already worked there and he knew any of my experience or background. And then he basically I was like, well, can I ask? He asked me a question. And I was like, yes, can I ask a question first? And he was like, oh, so you need to ask me a question in order to answer the question. So he was doing
Oy.
things like this, right? And so I get through this interview and the people, the lady, you could tell that the two guys and the lady in the room too, they looked a little uncomfortable. And they were like, thanks for coming in. Do you have any other questions? And I was like, yeah, I do. I'm curious how you work with this guy and not want to slap him. And their jaws just hit the ground. And the CEO, this guy like looked just like somebody had peed in his cornflakes. Like nobody talks to this guy. And that's the thing is like, I don't care
Mhm.
who you are, man. Like have some respect
Mhm.
for people, just decent human respect. It doesn't matter who you are, how important you are. Like, we all look the same on the inside and we're all going to the same place. So, but I don't know. I think that, I may have lit some inspiration in those other people in the room. Maybe they're like, yeah, this guy's kind of a dick. Why am I letting him boss me around like this or speak to me like this,
Mhm.
So I don't know. But the fear, it's
Yeah.
scary though, right? Because if you disobey, what if you
Exactly.
lose your job? What if you like I feel like this thing is goes so much high. I mean, it's almost like a government systemic, like all the way at the top, like how everything's set up. We're too scared to say anything to anybody Because if we do, what are the repercussions? And if the repercussions are bad enough, since things exist online now, in 1 second, I can go make a video, tag somebody, and then everybody thinks I'm a terrible person. And now I'm getting death threats and I lost my, like, it's so insane that people are too scared to voice an opinion. And it's beyond I know we're talking about the workplace, and I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I can see this pattern happening
Oh, for
everywhere,
sure. I mean,
you know?
absolutely. I mean, if we keep relying on external validation, our self-worth is now sensitive and fragile because it depends on variables that we have zero control on. So now we're relying on other people's
Yeah.
perceptions, their biases, their interpretations, and their prejudice. And I know 2 or 3 podcasts ago, we talked about gender leadership and how stereotypes and prejudice really works against promoting women. And so if a
Yep.
lot of women that are listening to this podcast, if you know that this exists, what is the point of listening to that voice? Because that voice keeps telling you you're not enough. But if we listen, we
Sure.
know that that's not true, right? It has nothing to do with the capability of the
Yeah.
leader. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. No, for sure, for sure. And actually, most of the time, if not all of the time, my sponsor taught me this. Anything anybody says about you to you is usually not about you at all.
Yeah.
It's about them, you know? So, but that's really hard because of, psychologically we're wired with that mirror effect. Like I'm going to look for validation from you. I want, if I know that I'm handsome because people
Mhm.
tell me it. I know that I'm smart because I hear that a lot. My dad said it, my mom said it, my family says it, and then, so like, yeah, that's me. That's who I am. But then, you have go work for a place for 3 or 4 years where people are telling you you're an idiot and you're incompetent and you can't get anything done and you really need to step it up and you're not hitting your goals. And boy, I don't know if we can afford to pay. Like it's like, so how does anybody work
I
like that?
will tell you, you get into this pattern where that becomes your food, your drug. So it starts to you become addicted to it. And that's the best way to say that. You just it becomes
Yeah.
resource.
Makes
Yeah.
perfect
And
sense.
then I mean when we
Yeah.
talk about fragile too and the way that it shows up, it's not always external. So if I see a leader, I'm not going to immediately go like, "Oh, you're seeking external validation." They fake it until they make it. So a lot of leaders
Yeah.
that I've worked with, they're composed, they're capable, they're confident. And then internally, or when
Mhm.
I'm sitting with
Mhm.
them, then I see the second guessing right off the bat. And this is even more important in high stake industries like finance, healthcare, and aerospace that you and I continuously focus on. The ambiguity is going to be real, and the pressure to appear a certain way is constant. So this gap of external composure and the internal in that's I guess I want to say that it's not so peaceful. It's like like filtered
Yeah.
version of yourself. It is quiet and it
Yep.
has to do with a lot of the reasons why you and I are talking about this. We think these traits are leaders, and so we keep exhibiting that externally where really a leadership comes within. It's from the inside, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. That's a great point. Um, so
Mhm.
the pattern here,
Yeah.
it's costly, and it can be hard to see, right? But it erodes decisiveness. It, makes for diluted communication. And I feel like it would over time, it would kind of move your judgment, your center of gravity as a leader. It would, move that to how are other people reacting as opposed to how do I actually see it or how
Yeah.
do I actually feel, right? Which is why you have all these meetings where they're like not necessary because there's 8 people in there just like, well, I think we should do it. The report said that, and it's just different people. And then like nothing gets done. Nobody decides on anything. You know what I
I
mean?
was
Like
enjoying
it's,
your voices. I
I
think we
don't
should do
know.
more voices in our
I think I should. Yeah. Maybe I'll do that. That's that. What it sounds like is just like a bunch of
Yeah.
squawking, like a crow's nest. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And then I don't know, but I completely understand. The reason why I'm smiling is because I've
Yeah.
seen this so much. I've experienced this so much in boardrooms and stuff like that, and like how things change when the CEO comes in, and how just the whole noticing the people and the body language, and which people sit up and which make themselves
Right.
small. You know what I mean? Like it's a trip. It's a trip. But for women specifically, I would imagine this would be an amplified pattern.
Yeah.
This is a more serious situation probably
I
than for
I
men.
I believe so, and it really has to do with we there's a double standard that we have to work through. You have to appear clear and precise, but you also have to be nice about it. Otherwise, if you're not nice about it, then people are going to call you out on it. So there's this need,
Yes.
and this is why it's a company problem rather than a person's problem, because then the person has to be two things that are contradictory to each other. And the whole thing about being liked in leadership, that's not something that I mean, it's good to have it, but it's not something that a leader should 100% focus on. And so a lot of leaders that I've worked with, they tend to focus on that to appear that they are likable. And that is such a different way of going about being a leader, because leadership is not about being
Right.
built on this agreeableness of the team. It's nice to have that, but it's built on being clear. So when you're relying heavily on external validations, clarity is usually the first thing that gets compromised. And when a leader lets go of being liked, and I don't mean say like F this, F that, no one's important, I'm important. I mean, in a humble approach, then something in your brain triggers that it's
Yeah.
safe to start leading, and you actually lead. You start giving directions rather than what I hear from teams of leaders who want to be liked so much is, I don't know where this person stands. They're not decisive. Whatever we say, they're like, yeah, that sounds great, go for it. But like, can you just be clear and tell us what you expect of us? So then we start to think about the ambiguity in that
Mhm.
type of form, and that's trickling down even more to our
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely guilty of doing this, wanting to be
Yeah,
liked.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Mm,
so
yeah. That's hard. Well, so okay, so then if that's so there's I mean, I'm also thinking about
mm,
age here too, right? Like for women, because I think that play I mean for men
mm,
too. For men too. But how I'm just curious
mm,
to hear your thoughts. Uh how there is no right age to be a woman in leadership, right? Like there's no like, hey, here's the golden years between, this age and this age. These are your like prime leadership. It doesn't like, does that exist for women? Like, do they have those like stats where like, here's your prime earning years, or here's your the best possible time for like, because they have all this stuff for men. I've done lots of research on all this kind of stuff on prime earning years and when to get into business, and what the different appearances are and how to dress and
mm,
how to speak and kind of all this stuff. So I guess my question is that what like how does this kind of stuff correlate with
mm,
age? Does it get
mhm.
easier, do you think, to be a leader as a woman as you get older, or is it easier to start from the right way right off the
Oh,
bat? Do you need a good mentor? Should women that are in the workplace be looking out for this when they're going to interviews? Should they be like trying to reach out on LinkedIn to other people that work there and see if they can get a little info
mhm.
out of them?
I
What do you
mean,
think?
to answer your question, and maybe give some ease to listeners, there is no right age to be a woman in a leadership role. At every stage of a career, there is an age-based reason to discount you in your position. So let me give myself, I always love to give myself as an example, because I feel like maybe a lot more listeners can relate to stories rather than, research. I started leading when I was 23, 24, and I went into an office early on. And what I kept hearing from people around me was I was too young, that I lacked experience. Fair enough. I went into my 30s. Well, like she has family responsibilities. She may want to have kids. She is, probably going to get married. And so then I'm
Yeah, I don't want to hire somebody that I'm going to have to put on maternity leave
Yeah.
right away, because then there's 9 months that somebody's not here, and it's not personal, and it's not because she's a woman, and it's just because we just can't afford that as a company. So I would prefer not hiring any women between 19 and 47.
Absolutely. And I mean, even yesterday, I had this amazing
Right?
human being. I mean, fantastic leader. She's probably, she has her own company. So she's about 70 years old. And one thing she even shared with me is she's considered too old. There's no longer any need to
Yeah.
invest in a person like that. So this age shift, this justification for you, it never runs out. And so I want women to stop thinking, when is the right time for me to be a leader? You could be a leader anytime you want to be. All of these voices and narratives, again, external validation wise, don't serve you. So let it go. It's going to
Yeah.
be okay. Yeah. You're going
Yeah.
to hear that at every stage. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So then geez, you know, you're really making me feel bad for being a guy over here. What like how do you deal with this stuff? I don't know. I've never experienced any of this. Like that's why it's so interesting hearing it from a woman's
Yeah.
perspective, and I'm like, I'm a liberal guy. I'm in California. I'm feminist for all intents and purposes. And I still don't get a lot, like I don't,
Yeah.
I'm not like on the inside. I was never on the inside of any of those
Mhm.
decisions, I guess, in corporate. But I caught a little bit from bosses that have said like, "Hey man, I hire attractive people because attractive people are
Oh,
better to look at. They make more money." Things like that. Like I've heard of
yeah.
this before as well. And I have to tell you, it's not wrong. It's not fair. It's not ethical, but
No.
it's not wrong. And I will tell you this too,
Mhm.
what I have noticed, and this is not in any way my attempt to even the playing field. I'm just calling it out so you can yell at me if you want. But attractive women made the top escrow sales year over year over year over year over year when I was at
Mhm.
an escrow
Mhm.
company that I worked at. Attractive, badass, but I was looking, and I looked all around the office too. I'm like, most people at this place are fairly good looking. And then I was like, okay, cool. Hey, that means I'm good looking. But
That's
I don't
external
know. My
validation.
my point in all of that, right? But like all of like that kind
Yeah.
of stuff to me never even
Yeah.
registered. Like when I was first getting into business, don't hire this person if they're
Mhm.
not attractive. Don't hire them if they're a woman this age because they might have a baby. Like to me, I'd be like, that's great. We better get you working so you can support your
Mhm.
new family. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but it's all profit, profit dollars, what's gonna
Yeah.
push the ball forward. And um it's I don't know, like I'm feeling emotional right
Mhm.
now too, because I have, somebody that has their own business. The buck stops with you. If I stop, or I can't just like lay down for a day and
Yeah.
rest,
Yeah.
you know? Even if I feel terrible, even if it's like painful just to get out of bed,
E
doesn't matter, because I'm scared that if I don't perform, then I'm going to lose,
yeah.
you know?
Uh, so many things you said uh, really resonate with me. One is, with regards to what you're saying about your business and not waking up, waking up and basically trying to accomplish things from morning till night.
Yeah. Or it's like I can't deal. Yeah, or like I
Yeah.
can't deal with today. Like, when I have to drive out and go meet somebody and work, like shoot content
Mm,
for hours, and I'm depressed and my body hurts and I'm just having a really tough day, and you got to go do that and put on the end, like
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
painful, right? It's painful to do that. And when it's like, but when you're going to do it with a client that's working with you, or with a company of people that
Yeah.
care about you, and they can spot when something's up, and they care more about your health
Mhm.
than sales. I think it makes situations like that a lot easier. I'm just saying that when you are the
Yeah.
owner of the company and you don't have a job you can fall back on, then it can be really stressful, because it's like, if I stop for 1 second, I'm
If
gonna
that
lose,
is,
you know?
this is a podcast in itself about hustle culture in America. 100%.
Go for sure. Hustle
And I
culture,
think that
absolutely.
we can really talk about that. Maybe that would be our next topic, is because I am so against hustle culture.
I love that. Me too. I'm so sick of it. I'm so
Yeah.
tired of everybody like wearing it as a badge of pride that I got up at 4 a.m. and I ran 66 miles. And then I, did everything for my kids.
Mhm.
And then, I worked my first job. And then I started my second job after 7 because you can do it too if you
Mhm.
just hustle through it. And then I work till midnight. Then I go to bed and I get up and do the same. It's like, one, no, you don't. Like, it's not, it can't be like
Mhm.
that every day. Like you got to have heart. See, I'm a big proponent
Mhm.
of vulnerability. I think vulnerability in business is important. And I have men and even coaches that I deal with that talk to me all the time and tell me that's nonsense. They're like, I don't agree with that at all. You're just going to kill your whole business. Like, nope, I just disagree with that. I really disagree with that because I've seen the benefits of human vulnerability and the connection that makes when you connect with somebody else on that level. You actually are way more productive. The ability to sit and have a conversation with somebody and not put them above you, you above them, not try to outwork, out hustle, outshine, outperform, like the competition thing too. That really competitive people bother me too. I don't know, like I just see like really childish competition I see as something that just doesn't really help anything. A little bit of healthy, friendly competition, that's a different story. But like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just more collective mindset, but I can't stand hustle culture either because it doesn't work and it leads to burnout. And the people that are doing it, maybe you can do that for a certain number of years, but I promise you, eventually the
Yeah.
candle's going to
I
burn out.
think I mean, everybody personality wise and it's very different. And that's something I really believe in. One of the things that I coach is, hey, what kind of decision making should I implement into my strategies? I say the one that you're comfortable with. Or if you're hustling and you're burnt out because you're working with clients day in and day out, and let's connect that back to external validation. How much of that is coming from the fact that you're passionate about it, or the fact that you are just hustling because you believe in the business, or is this external validation because the culture has told you you have to hustle to make it, and you're not hustling smart. You just think from day in and day out, I'm just going to work until I die, and so to me, I think it really has to do with your personality, and
Yeah.
even being competitive. I don't think it's a terrible thing. I know a lot of leaders have done
Yeah.
great with that, but we also have to
Yeah.
understand that not everybody is gonna be like you in that competing
Yeah, or
behavior.
maybe it's just sportsmanship then. Like, yeah, have a competition, but there's a lot of fear in sales around competition, right? Sales, any performance-based job, and most
Yeah.
jobs are performance-based, right? So there's this idea that, yeah, you put people up on a scoreboard and show everybody, so everybody, and that can help. It can, but it can also hurt because then if you have people like
Mhm,
personally me, I would not
mhm,
do as well in that because I would constantly be looking like, I'm so worried. If I don't beat this person, then they're going to think that, they're going to think this and they're going to think that. So, yeah, and the systems aren't created. It's just like the educational system. It's not created to educate your child individually on their own time at their
mhm,
own scale, right? Like kids learn differently. So you can't cater to everybody, but I don't know. I'll be honest with you.
mhm,
Here's why this is so important. I probably am where I am today, running the business I am today. Not well, no, I
mhm,
guarantee it's not because I wanted to. It's not
mhm,
because I was passionate about it. It's because I wanted the external validation of being a
mhm,
successful businessman. And I'm not
mhm,
as happy doing what
mhm,
I'm doing as I could be. I wanted to play in my band, maybe become a therapist, do something different. But um, the
mhm,
fear of all of not being able
mhm,
to survive and of people rejecting
mhm,
me um made me go a different direction, and that's really
mhm,
painful. So if I can help anybody else not do it, and I'm not saying I don't like
mhm,
what, like I like what I do. Like if I didn't like
mhm,
it I wouldn't do it, but I like what I do. I'm good at it. But my life would have taken a different trajectory if I would have felt at a younger age. Go express yourself, try some things out, and you'll make it work. Like it's going to work out instead of like you better get this figured out right now. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't try this. Like it just, I don't know, but it's huge. The external validation thing is really big. And I've always been I'm a
Mhm.
recovering people pleaser. And so this hits
Yeah.
right on the nose
And
for
I'll
me.
go to the other side of the spectrum too, because you said, you started this business for that external validation. I went into the profession and the corporate world for the external validation because I thought that's what was supposed to happen. And I ended up being very miserable and
Yeah.
burnt out and sad. And I had gained weight and I was just terrified to go to the work every day.
Yeah.
I actually have kicked and screamed. I didn't want to do this company. It was a call, it was a purpose that I tried to ignore for 10 years, probably 10 to 15 years. But I went into it because I knew
Yeah.
this was what I had to do. I'm looking at leadership left and right, and all I see is everyone is validating being bad, being mean, being unkind, and showing up with
Totally.
ego.
Well, yeah, look at the president.
Right. Whatever your
Yeah, look at the
belief is,
president.
right?
Look
Yeah,
at
no, for
everyone in the
sure. Whatever
country.
your belief is, whatever your belief is. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah. And
yeah.
not to get political. The only reason I said that is because I think that one of the things that a lot of conservatives respect about Donald Trump is that he'll just tell it like it is. They think that's good. Hey, man, I think you're a real POS. Yeah, look at that. He
Mhm.
just tells it like it is, when clearly there's more respectful, appropriate ways to communicate that. But yes, right now being harsh,
Mhm.
critical, all of that stuff is like, oh, this person's they're sharp, they're a leader, they know how to
Yeah.
call it out. When I don't know, that doesn't work
No, I
long
get
term.
that.
It just
Well,
doesn't.
let's talk about that because there's always going to be distinctions between calling it like it is and then it's being rude.
Being
Yeah, and
rude.
it's the same thing with external feedback. So let's talk about that. Um, there's a distinct difference between seeking external feedback and then getting feedback. So and it's the validation part. So
Yes,
validation is
true.
confirmation of our worth, our feeling, our correctness. It's me satisfying this emotional need for approval and verifying something meets my needs. So I am just like in it to I go, "Hey Max, do you think I'll succeed in this business? Do you think it's going to happen?" That's me emotionally and temporarily putting a little band-aid on something where I probably feel like maybe my business is not gonna succeed. But
Yeah,
we'll look at,
yeah,
feedback. And feedback is more like logical. I wanna know, I wanna understand, how can I improve this? What are some ways that I can do this? It's a more long-term perspective. And so instead of coming to you and saying, like, "Do you think Invivo Leadership is gonna survive?" I'm gonna say, "Hey, Max, with regards to the podcast that we're doing, what are some ways that we can improve it so we can get more listeners?" To me, that's different, right?
yeah. It is, but also to somebody that's
Mhm.
fear-based, that might be interpreted as, "Oh, this person thinks it's not good. They want it. I'm not doing a good job. They're asking me how we can make it better, so I'm not
Totally.
doing a good job." You know what I mean? Because that happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
And when I run, and this is why we talk to other people. This is why I have a sponsor. This is why I have
Mhm.
friends in business. This is why you do that, because they'll look at it and be like, "No, that's normal. Your mind is just twisting it because of a traumatic experience that you've had in the past."
Absolutely.
And that's true. And then I'm like, great. Okay. So how do I respond to this? Like, I literally, how should I do that? How do I respond to this? Because this seems to me like Laylee's not happy
Mhm.
that I'm not doing enough. So is
Yeah,
that true? You know what I mean? So you gotta ask other people.
for sure.
That's what I
And
do at least.
because that emotional response comes through, even let's say, in our example that we gave, right? Um, you will
Yeah.
come off very emotionally like driven towards me to be like, "What's going on?" And I said,
Yes.
and I let's say like from that side, I am
Yes.
seeing the world totally differently. Where I'm thinking, "Oh, I have brought so and so person to tell me how it's going." And they're taking it
Yep.
personally, whereas I'm looking for logistical reasons of
Yes.
like ways that we can enhance what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
Right. That's
Exactly.
the trap right there.
Exactly.
So from
Yep.
a leadership perspective, I love that example. You just showed what we do. where the perception isn't equal to the reality. And let's say I wasn't happy. Let's say 100%. I'm angry. I'm upset. I'm asking this question.
Yeah.
Someone who's coming from a feedback perspective is going to say, tell me what are some things that I can do to improve? Because then that question helps you improve and continuously work with that person versus like, I don't understand what's going
Yes.
on. I've done everything I possibly can. You come from this emotional insecurity where the person becomes
Yeah,
validated,
you don't
yeah,
wanna do
in the
that.
fact that they've questioned you to begin
Yes.
with. It's interesting.
Damn, I'm gonna start calling you, Laylee. That's what I'm gonna do next time I have one. Cause like I take things personally. That's one of the things that I've tried to work on the hardest. But growing up, I kind of just didn't feel like I had much of a voice. My
Mm.
parents were lawyers. My sister was really intellectual. And I don't know, but I've had this like fear of male authority
You and me
figures for a
both.
long time. And just like
You and me both.
yeah, right? And just like a tear yeah, yeah, and so, like, if somebody like a
Mm,
male boss is like, "Hey,
yeah,
um, I wanna know what the numbers were on this report,
yeah.
can you send them?" To me, that says, I better send over good numbers, because if I don't, I'm gonna get fired. That's where my mind goes immediately. That's my first thought. Now, is that correct? Of course not. That's years of a trauma loop
Yeah.
playing over and over in my head from bad experiences, right? Unfortunately. So that's the key that I've learned is that my initial snap reaction is never the right one. So for me, it's not just don't just stand there and do something. It's don't just do something, stand there. Sometimes I
Mm,
need a minute,
mhm.
before I can like think of how to explain or how to, express myself.
I
But you
do.
get what I'm saying. It's usually the
And
snap reaction is fear based. It's like, oh, they don't like it. I
yeah,
knew this was gonna happen.
I want to
You know what I
interrupt
mean?
you because this, again, we've talked about this in the podcast, I think maybe 2, 3 weeks ago. Your reaction is past trigger events, to your point, and it's also what your body
Mhm.
remembers. So when you got that email
True.
like 10 years ago. And Max, by the way, I can relate to your story. I know
Yeah.
listeners can relate to your story. And that's why I really value what you bring into this podcast because you have the same,
Yeah.
structures that we're talking about and you have experience in it. But we respond
Right.
with our body because that emotional trauma is still in there. And so the body goes, whoa. And then our brain goes, well, why is the body going like this? And we start to focus
Yep.
on this interaction and we get stuck in the loop. So uh,
Yep.
I really want to
Exactly.
talk about what we do with this trash, this garbage.
Yeah, please help me. How? How do you fix this?
Yeah.
Because this is literally something that I've been working on for almost 30
This is why
years,
I'm so
you know?
passionate about what I'm doing in Vivo Leadership, Max, because everything I'm talking about is things that I've experienced. Like this is firsthand for me and why I got my
Mm,
doctorate and MBA and coaching and IA business strategy certification. All of this stuff is because I want people not to struggle the way I did. And so, one of the first solutions that I have for the listeners is this: form your own view. That is number one. So, if someone's coming at you and saying, you're a horrible person, I hate you, is it true? Right?
no,
It hurts,
but it
but
still
it
hurts.
like a person
Mhm.
who is humble, who is confident, looks internally and says, okay, from my perspective, is this person telling me something that's true about me? If it is, hey, thank you so much. This is the part of me I'm going to go ahead and work on. I really appreciate your feedback. And if it's
Yeah.
not true, one, this person is unreliable. Two, who is this person in your life even?
Yeah.
Honestly, like, is this a person that you never talk to and has seen you in 0.00001% of your life? So how we prioritize matters. And then third, what is your view of yourself? If this person says you are a horrible person, is that true? Well, no, it's not true because in my company, I'm doing all that I can for my clients. I am so passionate about giving them what they need. So that's the first practice. The second one is really
Mm,
understanding the feedback. Evaluate it. Don't just accept it or reject it. If someone tells you you are, again, horrible, okay, does this align with what I know to be true, which we've talked about? The other practice that I want our listeners to get is build a strength record, not just performance data. So, one of the structural features of external validation pattern is that it exploits our negative bias. It's kind of like when someone says the worst things to us, we're like,
mm.
I knew it. I knew it. This is the bad stuff that I always tell myself.
Yeah.
So, we over attend to those
Yeah.
signals, right? And research
Yep.
really recommends a deliberate countermeasure. So actively document your strengths and your wins and return to that record when you feel uncertain. I was teaching a class and it was the first time I was teaching this set of students, like age wise. And I was having a hard time because usually I'm used to maybe more graduate level people who are in the field that understand it, and,
Yep.
to be honest with you, Max, I, like, came from that classroom crying because I just was like, "This is beyond me, like, I don't know what to do." And my
Oh,
sister at
no.
the time, she knows me very well, so she knows I'm an anxious attachment and, all that fun anxiety stuff that we carry with ourselves. She said,
Yeah.
"Just,"
Yeah.
and I was going to be, teaching again that day, she's like, "Just go teach, feel that anxiety, come back, and then see how you're doing." And then when you're relaxed, which you're going to be, give yourself a voice memo and tell yourself how it went. Tell yourself what you do right and what's amazing. And so that's exactly what I did is that evening I went and I taught another class and then I felt okay. And so I recorded a voice memo for the next time I would feel the anxiety to say, everything was fine. I came out alive. Nothing bad happened. I'm a very dedicated professor. I'm doing the best that I can. Even when things that I don't know happen to me, the uncertainty, I'm navigating and I'm learning. And that's okay. So build that strength record. If it's a voice memo, if it's journaling,
Yeah.
right?
That's
Help
good.
yourself. And then communicate more simply. So a lot of people rely on external validations and they tend to over explain their thinking. So someone, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Ramble. Of
So
course.
part of rebuilding that internal authority in us is learning to communicate our perspectives a lot more simple and be more clear. So if someone for like this is my favorite thing, when someone tells you something and asks you for a favor and you have no capacity to do it, someone who hasn't figured out the simplicity of it will go, well, no, because I have this thing that I have to do, and then I have to do this and I have to do that, so I can't get to you. There's no need for that explanation. All you
Yeah.
can say is, no, I'm so sorry. I can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. You don't owe an answer for that or an
Yeah. Yeah.
explanation.
And the last thing is I want people to keep promises that you make to yourself. So self-trust is going to be built
Yeah.
through self-consistency. As much as we like to, we always say leadership needs to be consistent in vivo. True. But that consistency comes within. So bringing that self-consistency inside is going to be amazing because then you're consistent for yourself, which means you're more than likely going to be consistent for your people. So bringing that promise every single time. So if
Yes.
you promise yourself, which I can tell you, I was really bad at this too, and I got better. Today, I'm going to treat myself to lunch and I'm going to enjoy it. And then lunchtime comes around and you're like, well, I have a lot of work to do. I shouldn't do this. That's inconsistency.
Yeah.
Go eat lunch, enjoy
Yes.
it, show yourself, give your childhood self that love. And you're more than likely, if you can tend to yourself that way, you will tend to others 10 times more because you're consistent for yourself. So those are the promises that I want listeners kind of to take with themselves
That's
is to
really good.
remember all of that as they're leading. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. This has been great. Really helpful for me too. So thank you so much for another great
Thank you.
episode. And yeah, my gosh, what sort of crises are we going to get into next
Well, I
week?
think the hustle culture is a really good topic.
You
Oh,
got
that's
we have a
right.
guest. Do
That's
we
right.
have a
That's
guest
right.
next week?
So we'll talk to
Well, next week we have a guest, and then we'll do hustle culture
Exactly.
the
Thank
next
you
week.
for the reminder. So we have someone who's a leader, and she works in sleep apnea industry. I think she has a wonderful story that she'll tell us. Is she works with all women in her practice. So it'll
Oh,
be
cool.
interesting. And she's built a
Nice.
very positive and healthy culture. So I'm really excited about that. And then we'll go to your point to hustle culture. So we'll have some really good episodes coming up. It'll be exciting.
Awesome. Can't wait. Well, until then, like, subscribe, share, tell a friend, tell somebody, tell a woman who's trying to, not play the game of the good old boys in the corporate world, whatever. But like, share, subscribe, and check out In Vivo Leadership Strategies as well, invivoleadershipstrategies.com to learn more and get some valuable resources, I think, at least that you can use
Thank
in
you,
your
Max.
journey.
Thank you. This is
And that's it.
Leili, integrity over scale, and live your life in vivo. Talk soon. Bye.
See ya.